3 niveaux, une passerelle, c'est vraiment, il y a plein de choses qui vont changer encore pour on pourra sauter par-dessus la flotte, on pourra passer aussi, mais ça sera un peu plus difficile.
C'est le café de Frédéric Henry. Hello chaps and chapettes, and welcome to this very special kind of video blog first impressions of a game that I played just the other day called Batman the Board Game. What is Batman the Board Game? Well, it's a game which is going to be coming later on the end of this year on Kickstarter, and it's by the Monolith team, the guys that brought us Conan and Mythic Battles and some other games which are coming as well. So I need to make 3 disclaimers. Number 1, the game that I played, the version of the game that I played was a prototype, right? I need to state that it's a prototype. This game has been in development for a little while, but not a long while. This is nowhere near the finished project. So you're going to see images and stuff of the game, and you're going to think, what the plums is he talking about? The second disclaimer is that I played a dumbed down version of the actual prototype itself because the other players at the table that I played with were novices. They hadn't played Conan, so they didn't understand the system, so they had to be taught this new system. So we didn't play with all the special powers, we just basically played with the movement and the combat and obviously the scenario. And the third disclaimer I have to make is that I am working with Monolith on this project, so you're going to need to take everything I say with a pinch of batarangs. So what is Batman the Board Game? Well, anyone that's played Conan will instantly get to grips with Batman because it uses the same system. That system is a tactical homeostatic system. That is where the heroes have their character sheets and they have X amount of gems. And these gems are their energies which they can use to perform actions. So like to move, they use X amount of energy to move and X amount of energy to fight. And they can choose how much energy they want to use. And the more energy you use, the more dice you'll roll, the more proficient you'll be at that activity. There'll be another player who will be playing against all the other players because all the other players are playing Batman and all his friends. But there'll be one player that will be controlling like the evil villains of the Batman universe and all their thugs and everything. And they will have a slightly different system because this is like an asymmetrical game. They will have energy as well, these crystals, but they'll be able to use them to activate different troops on this river. So let's talk more about the scenario that I played. Well, in the scenario, Bane and his thugs had acquired a great amount of explosives, and they were planning on planting all these explosives in an underground railway station, a subway, a tunnel or metro, and they were going to blow it up and hopefully bring all the buildings on top of that metro down as well, destroying those buildings and doing nasty things. And Batman had found out about this and he rushed in with his friends to try and stop these explosives from going off. So the game was a race for Bane to get his henchmen and himself. Well, he didn't have a lot of intelligence, but he was like a distraction. He was like a big menacing figure, really strong. But some of his thugs could operate computers that would arm explosives, and some of his thugs were quite handy with their hands and could actually arm the explosives themselves. There was a short amount of time that the heroes had to try and disactivate these explosives. After this time had finished, that would be the end of the game, and if Bane had 2 explosives armed, they would go off and that would be enough to bring destruction to Gotham. But if Batman had managed to disarm most of the bombs, then obviously Batman and his team won. The gameplay, if you're familiar with Conan, is very similar. You're moving around, you're trying to achieve your objectives, and obviously there's 2 different objectives. Again, the heroes have different powers, they have different skills and attributes. Included with this is intelligence, which Batman has a bucket load of, and he is quite useful at disarming bombs. Catwoman, who is the other playable character, is also very, very handy at disarming bombs manipulatively. But she's also very stealthy and can run around quite quickly and escape all the thugs that were in the system. But she didn't have much armor. She was quite weak and could be attacked quite easily. So her best chances were to run around and get out of the way of everyone. Red Hood, who I was playing, he didn't have any intelligence, well, not much intelligence and not much very good at manipulating things, but he could shoot. He had a gun, so he was quite happily picking off thugs here and there, shooting the ones that could operate computers and shooting off the ones that could manipulate the explosives to make them go off. But he had trouble shooting some of the other thugs. Some of the other thugs were had shotguns and quite tough armor, and some of the other thugs had Uzis, which were very, very lethal, but they missed a lot. Yes, there's 2 new types of dice in this game. One of them is used with the shotguns at the moment. So if a player is in close range, in the same space as another player, and they wish to shoot them, they get this extra dice. And this extra dice has a lot of blanks on it, but it has some really high numbers which would do some damage. The Uzi dice, again, it's going to be used for other things. It's not just going to be used mainly for Uzis, but again, it had a lot of blanks on it and it had some high numbers on it. And if you rolled them, you rolled actually quite a lot of these Uzi dice, because Uzis spray out lots of bullets. So that kind of felt thematic, the shotgun and the Uzi with the new dice. Obviously, they still use the same 3 dice as you get in Conan, a yellow weak one which does about 1 or 2 damage, and then an orange and a red which is really, really strong. So all 3 characters felt different, and all of the enemies felt a little different as well. One of the things that Bane could do is he could inject himself with venom and then pump himself out to be a super badass and go around and do lots of damage. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that because the player playing the Overlord did not activate that power. He just respawned some more thugs because I took out a lot with my guns. All of the abilities now have restrictions on them. Before in Conan, you could roll dice as many times as you want in certain areas. You could use a maximum amount of energy to perform walking actions and fighting actions, but they had limits on them. Now everything has limits on it, so when you're defending, it has a limit on it. You can only spend X amount of energy on defending or X amount of energy on re-rolling if you're lucky enough. I had X amount of energy to use on shooting, which is great in a way because I could shoot and pick off weak baddies everywhere. But the bad thing was that it was, it was limited to 3 shots around, or I could have done 1 big shot on, say, a big character. But, that's the kind of decisions you're going to have to make, the kind of balancing that you're going to have to do. I'm going to talk about the map now. The map is the same kind of big spaces laid out really nicely. One of the things that was a problem when I played it was there's these trains which block line of sight, but for some reason I did not see them, and I was trying to shoot someone, and then someone turned around and said, no, you can't shoot him because there's a train in the way. And it's like, oh yeah. So I mean, the artwork might need a little bit more adapting on the actual train itself to make it stand out. But yeah, you can go on these trains, go through them. There's a nice kind of line of sight system. They've changed the line of sight. So there's these colored letters because there's certain positions which are on a higher level. There's buildings, obviously, and there's going to be other obstacles. And so you might be able to, from a height, see certain persons, but other persons you might not see. It's like if they're behind the building, that space doesn't count. So there's this lovely little letter system on the line of sight, which works really well. And the art really looks really nice as well, anyway. One of the things I was looking forward to when I went into the game was to see if there was any stealth involved, because Batman uses a lot of stealth, and he also uses a lot of gadgets. But as I said, we played like a dumbed down version. And this scenario, I believe, is not meant to be a kind of stealthy, sneaky kind of mission. It is an all-in-out race against the clock we got to stop these bombs from going off. So there was no sign of stealth from Catwoman and Batman. They were just running around and not hiding or jumping around anywhere. But I believe that there's something that's going to happen, because while I was there, I got this new Overlord book, which has these new scenarios in it for Conan. And one of the scenarios has Conan and Bellet in a building, and they cannot attack and kill anyone. And that could quite easily transfer into this Batman game quite easily, using lots of stealth depending on the missions. Again, there's some campaigns in here. There's a campaign in here which is three missions that they have to do in order. And that is going to probably be introduced into the Batman game as well. There's lots of really interesting missions. There's a mission here which doesn't use an Overlord player, so it's the heroes playing with themselves. That sounded wrong. The experience was good. It's the same kind of experience that I got from Conan, and I love the system in Conan. Again, you can take that for however you like the Conan system or not. Obviously, there probably will be some developments in the game because there are powers, different powers that are involved. There's some powers which are the same. One of the villains has like a cleave action, which means that his damage will go through one hero and then through into another hero. Heroes do not die. So there's no dying in this game. When you rest, any wound gems that you have will be transferred into your fatigue box, and then if you rest again, you can transfer those fatigue into your active box, and then you can use those gems to do other actions. Woohoo! But there will be new powers. One of the powers that Batman has is he can be heroic. He can sacrifice one energy and put it into his wound box to give him an extra dice in whatever action he's doing, which I think is really kind of thematic. Again, he's got lots of armor. The character sheets match the characters, as you can see from the images that I've put on this video. So there you go, there's a brief overview of the game that I played. Hopefully soon I'm going to be playing the game again, but with the experience level a bit higher, so I'll be able to use all the powers and give you a better feel of the game. Again, I'm going to be at the UK Gaming Expo in June, demoing this game, so look out for me there. Try it out there, it should be good. So when will this game be coming out? Well, it's going to be a long way away. As I said, it's in early stages of its prototype. So the Kickstarter will be probably launched either December 2017 or the beginning of 2018. So you're going to have a bit of a wait, and I'm sorry to have to whet your appetite, but I thought you might want to be informed about how this game is going at the moment. So thanks for watching, ciao for now, and remember to brush your teeth, otherwise Robin's going to come down the chimney and steal them.
Just sitting at the table next to Felicia would be quite nice. Wouldn't it be good? I got some board games.